Welcome to Power of X-Men, the podcast where we review every single issue of the revolutionary, groundbreaking, punk, epic, mutant masterpiece known as Morrison's New X-Men. I am the uncanny Dayspring.
And I am the new Flinkman.
I am very speechless right now because I am going to be so irrational talking about this issue.
Oh, yeah.
I think this issue is damn near perfect, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
Oh, this is there's absolutely I don't understand how anyone could have a problem with this issue. I don't want to get too into my rants about it, but yes, to say that I agree would be an understatement. This is about as perfect an issue of X-Men as you are to find across the 60 plus years of the franchise.
There is humor, there is action, there is tension, there is intimacy with the narrative. I don't know, like, if someone comes to me and they're like, I don't like this issue, I'm going to be really salty when I say this. I'm like, I just don't, what? Like, what's wrong with you?
We can't be friends.
Yeah, we can't be friends. Emma in this. This issue is a great cultural sample, Familia at Home. Why Emma in Morrison's New X-Men is a perfect character. This is why you see the allegories to Jean Brodie. You see her wit. You see her caring. I have so many feels about it.
Oh yeah, it's from the cover to the epic scenes in this issue. Emma is the star of the issue and is quickly set up to be the star of the entire run, in my opinion. You may disagree.
No, I don't disagree. What the fuck is wrong with you that you're like, you may disagree? When have we ever disagreed about Emma in Morrison's New X-Men?
No, I'm saying you may rank Jean higher than Emma. Of course, we agree that Emma is perfection here, which is an apt descriptor of Emma. Perfection.
I think, and I'm sorry to cut you off, I think I like Jean's tale better. That Emma has a smaller scope story, Jean has a grander story, but there's, without a doubt, Emma is the shining star of Morrison. Yes. Like Morrison sat down and they looked at Emma and wrote an amazing Emma. That you cannot tell me Morrison does not prefer to write Emma than any other character in this. I would be curious.
They're having the time of their life with Emma, and I feel like they're probably like releasing a side of their own personality that they don't get to, in their day-to-day life. Like who doesn't want to be as snarky and fabulous as Emma Frost in this issue of New X-Men?
As sweet as you are, I didn't come back for you, Scott dear. I came back for my purse. Lucky for you, this is a Louis Vuitton.
Perfect. Just perfect. I mean,
no one has ever been able to write Emma like that, because here's the thing.
No.
Emma, people want to write Emma as a snarky bitch. She is not a snarky bitch. She is a snarky, witty character who, beneath it, is hiding her feelings of true caring. She's using wit and humor to not show that she cares. It is perfect. Flink. Perfect.
Perfection.
Okay, well, before we continue on this 2-hour rant about Emma Frost, we do have some news to cover. And the big news that's just eclipsing like my entire feed right now, and I don't like to give oxygen to MCU casting rumors because a lot of it is unfounded, but I don't know about you. There was a little movie that came out this last year called The Substance.
Oh. Literally the best non-franchise film I have seen in a decade. Like I can't even think of anything to compare it to. Kenny and I were floored by it. I love it so much.
We went with my friend Nick opening weekend, and we went to the Financial District Theater, and he's sitting between me and Jeff eating the popcorn, and when the movie started really taking off, he went, "Oh my God, what the fuck are we watching?"
I mean, that's literally like, what the fuck are you watching? But it
was just so good, and I'm so proud of Demi Moore. I love Madison Lee is my favorite Angel. I don't know if we've ever talked about this. From Charlie's Angel, she played Madison Lee. She came back. Demi Moore, since since Ghost, since Charlie's Angels has been one of my favorite actresses. I'm so glad she's having her resurgence. She deserves
Don't forget
it.
Now and Then.
Oh my God! Yes, Now and Then. It turns 30 this year. It turns 30 this year. I'm dying to see that movie
That's
again.
terrifying.
I know.
That's terrifying.
But anyways, Margaret Qualley, who plays the younger version of Demi Moore in The Substance, is being rumored to play Rogue in the MCU. Now, rumored, I haven't done the research on this,
Yeah.
so I apologize. I don't know where this rumor started.
I mean, this was breaking news to me this morning when you told me you wanted to cover this. I was like, what are you talking about?
Well, it's because like everyone is talking about it and sending it to me. I remain agnostic on this. I think she's a fine actress, but apart from what she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yeah.
was she? And The Substance, I haven't really seen her in anything else.
No, neither have I. But I don't tend to follow the casting rumors too much, just because generally speaking, Marvel has done such a good job casting these films with left field choices that I know or actors that I've never even heard of populating, characters that I love. So I tend to not involve myself too much in the speculation or, having preferences for who I want cast in these roles, just because by now I trust, I think it's Sarah Halley Finn who does most of the casting for Marvel. And I trust her completely. I mean, there's very few missteps in the casting of these movies. So if Sarah Halley Finn and Kevin Feige think that somebody's going to be good in a role, I'm going to just go with it. But I think, she was great in The Substance with she sort of had limited dialogue. She didn't have a lot to say. At least I don't remember her having too much to say, but she really sold that character. So of course I would be happy to have her in the MCU, but I'm not sure that Rogue is who I necessarily see her as. But again,
Agreed.
I can roll with just about any of the casting because they've done such a good job over the years.
I remember sort of being, I don't want to say outraged, but like uncomfortable with the casting of Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, the girl from Apartment, the bitch from Apartment, whatever. And when I saw her perform, I was like, holy shit, no one else could be Jessica Jones. She did a great job. So I can be open to it if Kevin, the casting directors all feel that she would do a good job. I picture, for me, the optimal casting is someone like Keke Palmer that I think has that sort of like larger than life personality, a little,
Yeah.
I want to say this respectfully, can get down and dirty and tough, but still embody like sexiness and all that stuff. It's a really weird line to like cross. And I think Megan Qualley, beautiful, and I'm sure talented, very talented actor. I don't see that like kind of like quality. Again, I can be proven wrong. I'm always happy to be proven wrong, but I kind of saw this and everyone's like flipping out thinking this is great casting, blah, blah. I think people are just desperate right now for casting of the X-Men in the MCU.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think people just want to, people are ready for the proper X-Men in the MCU, and it's just such a shame. It feels like we have so much to go still before we actually get to that point, which is a little bit obnoxious, but I digress. I think that this particular casting sort of depends on who else they're casting. Because, if like the Sadie Sink as Jean Grey rumor, if that turns out to be true, it would be a little weird to have a Rogue older than Jean Grey. So I think my feelings on this particular casting rumor depends greatly on who else they're casting, because the X-Men, more than I would say the Avengers, which are a team of individual heroes that come together out of necessity, the X-Men are a true team. The character dynamics are important. The ages are important. You can't just pick and choose, what you want. I don't know. It depends. I would be excited for it if the Jean Grey and Cyclops characters are a little older than Margaret. It just I can't judge the casting of Rogue in isolation. You know what I mean? I have to consider all of the other characters.
That's so true. And this is why, again, this issue of Morrison's is so good. It's not just the characters, it's the character dynamics. And
Yes.
you need those kind of chemistry. Like, I could be sold on an older Rogue than Jean and Cyclops, but I need to see who the actors are and how it sort of plays. I did Google this really quickly. It comes from Jeff Snyder, the rumor that Margaret Qualley is being eyed, not considered, eyed for the role. And what they probably mean is that there's like a list within Marvel, and her name is on it for Rogue. Jeff Snyder is that MCU scooper who turns out to be right, who reported on Sadie Sink for Jean, thinks that there has like... So, again, this is coming from a reputable source. Now, this makes sense why so many people have picked it up. But there's sometimes people just make up a rumor, literally just wake up one morning and just post it out there. And everyone's like... Yeah, like, but
Oh my god!
and everyone gets angry, and there's like no weight behind the rumor. But this is coming from Jeff Snyder, who again has a history of being right, not always perfect, but always having the scoops and talks about the stories as they develop.
I mean, wait and see is my attitude on this particular rumor. You know, obviously, I loved her in The Substance, but like you said, we don't have a lot of examples of her in much else. I mean, but my God, The Substance. If you're going to be in a film and make your mark on an audience, The Substance is definitely a film to do that in. So, wait and see. Wait and see who else is cast. Wait and see what characters they're even choosing, what direction they're going with it. There's, like I said, there's just a lot of variables involved in this before I can give like a definitive opinion of or a stamp of approval on, oh yeah, that's great casting.
So, speaking of the X-Men in the MCU, Captain America Brave New World came out this week, and we're not going to discuss the film itself, like in terms of its plots, but there was a big element in it that dealt with adamantium sort of being the central core, where Japan and the USA are fighting over adamantium that's being mined from the Celestials. I know my feels on this. What are yours?
Okay, well, listen, I don't take the MCU that seriously. Like, I will sit and I will argue with somebody over continuity of the comics, but when it comes to the MCU, I don't want to say I'm a casual viewer, because obviously I'm very invested in it, but I don't take it quite as seriously. So I don't get, as long as I'm entertained by a Marvel movie, I'm happy with it. I don't need a whole lot more than that. So I thought that this was, number one, I enjoyed the movie a lot. I don't want to fight with people, so I won't get into, too much.
And by fight with people, you mean me.
Yeah, correct. I don't even know. All I know is that you didn't like it because you, Mini-Mated, and Jeff were trying to have a spoilery conversation in the group chat. And I'm like,
wait, I did not.
True.
I saw the notification. I only said I didn't like it in our group chat, our Toy Biz Sisterhood, Marvel Legends Sisterhood chat. All I said was I didn't like it, and I tapped out of the conversation because I knew you and Pedro would like it. I knew for sure you were gonna like it. Anyways.
So yeah, no, I thought this was a fun way to introduce adamantium. I mean, obviously we've already seen adamantium in Deadpool and Wolverine. That there's no secret that it exists in some version of the Marvel universe in the multiverse, but this is the first time outside of a multiverse film that we have referenced adamantium. And I think I think it was a really kind of interesting introduction, and I think that tying something so important to the X-Men franchise, to the Celestials, which there has been hints and blips and bobs over the years of the mutant race being sort of tied to the Celestials. Apocalypse is very involved in Celestial mythology within the Marvel comics, so introducing it that way, I think, is a unique and interesting and fun, and a middle finger to everybody who has been bitching about the Eternals not going anywhere or leading to anything for the last 5 years or however. So
I'm like raising my hand. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I don't understand the Eternals hate. I've never understood the hate for Eternals. I thought the movie was great. It was what it was. I don't. Some people really hold anger towards the Eternals, and this
Oh,
celestial.
go broke.
Yeah, and this celestial in the middle of the ocean, is it the Indian Ocean? People are like angry about it, that it's just a dangling plot thread. I don't understand that. That being said, though, I don't like adamantium being used as a like socio-economic,
But it would be.
no, but that's my point, though. You have vibranium for that, and it works so well with vibranium, and it is addressed in the movie. But
Yes.
I like it as being a shady underground metal that's created and used as experiments. I don't need it to be part of some kind of economic welfare for a country. I don't need it to be weaponized or part of everyday. I think it takes away from the specialness of Wolverine.
Well, I don't think that there's obviously going to be further developments with this. Like, I don't think it's going to be, France, India, the United States, and Japan just split all the adamantium. Which, by the way, where's the rest of the world? That's a really interesting assortment. And where's Canada?
Why are we not talking about Canada? Why couldn't it be the U.S. going to war with Canada over this? I could start getting
that's too
into
real.
it. Yeah.
The U.S. going to war with Canada is too real right now, so we don't need to go there.
This is why I don't work on the MCU side. Yeah, I agree with you. It was a very innocent thing I was saying in terms of just like wanting it to be a little bit more truer to the comics. But yeah, you can't get away with that right now.
I mean, listen, if Red Hulk had been orange instead of red, things would be very, very
okay. But here's the thing that also gets me is that people were trying to pull like political allegories with Red Hulk. It's like, this character has existed for at this point like almost 15 years in the comics. This has nothing. And by the way, to the movie's credit, they try to be apolitical about everything as much as possible.
Are you sure?
Apolitical in terms of like.
Are you sure?
Apolitical. Wait. Politics within the MCU, but I don't think it mirrors real world politics.
You don't think?
Tell me.
You don't think the closing scenes with Harrison Ford in jail, where they're talking about, we appreciate you taking responsibility for all of this, that, and the other. You're the president, but you're behind bars, blah 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 blah. You don't think?
I don't think they were intentional. I don't think they were intentional behind it, and I think it was strictly just President Ross's storyline. Wait, listen, regardless, what I'm trying to say is that I don't understand these people who are trying to negatively use the fact that it's a Red Hulk and make it tie into like the MCU is trying to, be woke and all this. Like, no, this is true to the comics, is all I'm saying.
I mean, the Red Hulk story is completely different in the comics. The Red Hulk story in the comics has nothing to do with the president or politics or anything like that. It's just General Ross is a, charging, crazy Hulk.
I'm kind of curious why they did put him as president, though. I mean, that was kind of like, okay.
A monster in the Oval Office. It was pretty clear to me, but maybe I'm just.
I didn't see him as just I love that he was so motivated with Betty. For me, that was
Ivanka.
You're such a, by the way, the fact that they didn't even hint at Liv Tyler becoming Red She-Hulk, that for me was the biggest cardinal sin. I was so sad about that.
It took years for her to become Red She-Hulk. And let's be honest, the MCU audience apparently wants nothing to do with She-Hulk, so...
I thought this. So early rumors for this movie was that it was going to be a like Hulk heavy movie. So I was expecting to see She-Hulk. I was expecting to see Mark Ruffalo. I was expecting to see everyone sort of come back. I am kind of sad about it. But my larger comment on Liv Tyler though is why did they shoot her in the prison scene from like his perspective? Like it wasn't the clearest shot you could get of Liv Tyler
because they probably weren't in the same room at the same time. To be honest with you,
listen, I was just sad about it. But anyways,
adamantium.
I listen. It's a preference. I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying I'm right. But I like it a little bit more underground. Man, we're going back to year one of Generation X here.
You're so diplomatic. I love that. I'm not saying you're wrong, but
listen. It's just I hope they do it right. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And this is a big element there. And they've handled vibranium very well in the MCU. I want to see them do it right with adamantium. How about
Yeah.
that? And I think it works for me. Just to reiterate my point ad nauseum, I like it better as an underground, sketchy formula compound. That's sort of like what I like. It boils down to preference. How about that?
Yeah, no, and I don't think that the events of this film preclude it from being that because we already know there are shady figures after adamantium. So I think that something is going to go awry with this, and it's going to become, I think it's going to. I have enough faith that it's going to take a different path from vibranium. Like obviously, there's the parallels to vibranium right now, but I don't necessarily think that that's always going to be the case. And I'm interested to see where it goes. And just in the overall, overarching arc of the Marvel Universe, I'm glad that there is significance and importance to the Celestial. I'm glad to see it, back into play. It shut some people up, and we'll see where it goes from here. I really enjoyed the film. I don't think it was perfect, but again, I'm more of a I've been saying this to you for 20 years. When it comes to the movies, I'm more of a turn your brain off and just enjoy it kind of guy. And Alias is my favorite TV show. So I love a good espionage, government, shady government, politic drama thing. And of course, Isaiah Bradley is played by Carl Lumbly, who was a main character on Alias for all
Oh, I
5
didn't know
seasons.
that.
Yeah, he was. He was her partner, Dixon, Jennifer Garner's partner, for all 5 seasons of Alias. So I was cheering him on. Like, there's just a lot there. It's not an imperfect film, but there was enough about it for me to really be excited. And certainly, Hot Falcon.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! And by the way, the fact that he's from Miami and he went to you. Well, first of all, I'm a Seminole. Like I went to FSU, so I'll forgive that sin. But the fact that he's from Miami, I loved it. But I will tell you, no one in my theater reacted to that. Like, and you would think because I saw it down here in Miami, and you would think people were like, "Oh." I didn't see that. But Falcon is so hot in this movie. It's true. I hate. Oh man, we're so thirsty on this podcast recently. I'm never thirsty, and it's Wolverine. Yeah, quietly Wolverine and new Falcon. Jesus Christ, so hot.
Love it. Like, yeah, that was
Yeah.
a big part of my love for the movie was
Have we
Black Falcon and his green costume. Like,
have we ever seen an MCU movie together in the theater? I don't think we have.
no, I don't think we ever have.
We've
No.
never done that. So you go in, you shut your brain off. I want that. That's the kind of viewer I want to be. I want to get my slushy. I want to get my popcorn. I love Twisters, for God's sake. So I'm not being a hater, but there's something about an MCU film that then I start sitting like this, and like I'm examining every single
course you
piece
are.
of dialogue, every movement, everything. So I do
See,
appreciate
that's how I am
that.
about the comics.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy to do both. I can't expend that kind of energy on the comics and the movies, so I just roll with it when it comes to the movies.
Okay, well, one, I just want to say that I'm incredibly proud that we had such a productive conversation. Like the Flink and Dayspring of like years past would just be like, "Who are these bitches?"
Right? Oh my God.
But secondly, I'm not going to be rational at all talking about this week's issue.
No,
And
God, no.
I think we need to talk. We need to kick up. Wait, let me formally introduce it, which is issue number 116 of Morrison's new X-Men. E for Extinction. E is for Extinction. Part 3 of 3. That's it. We're here. Frank Quitely, Grant Morrison. I mean, they bring their A game here. That cover. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
out of probably thousands of X covers in like the last 62 years, this is one of the all-time best. It is just
Oh
for
my
those
gosh.
who are unfamiliar, it's just Emma Frost with her head cocked, her hand on her hip, in her dapper diaper. I mean, it's simple, it's sassy. The costume is the goat. The background is this beautiful pink that really makes Emma pop. I don't know. I know plenty of people are going to argue with that, and that's fine. But I like what I like, and I like this fucking cover.
I'm crying. The amount of, I don't know. emotion that I get evoked thinking about this cover. It's peak. Her posture, her
Ugh.
face, the face she is giving, the colors. I cannot stress the colors for New X-Men is probably one of the best in the industries. I'm trying to look really quickly at to who the colorist was.
Hi-Fi, I believe.
Hi-Fi,
Hi-Fi
yeah.
Design.
Hi-Fi. Oh yeah, it's right there. Hi-Fi just nailed it. And can I tell you, I was at a comic book store in Orlando, probably around the time Here Comes Tomorrow was publishing, so the end of Morrison's run. I found the bust.
Oh, I'm
That
looking
is,
at it right now. Right there.
I loved it so much. And I put it on my desk in college. And I think I took a photo of it and I posted it somewhere. And it was either the Foosh or Shades of Grey. I did not know this cover or this design for Emma was so contentious. This is one of those things is like you don't know the world's a mean place. You didn't know Santa didn't exist until like some kid spoiled it for you. That is how I feel about this because this is just pure love. Like her hair, everything. I just don't trust anyone who says they don't like this cover. You can, again, as we've discussed with Quietly, you can dislike the cosmetic of it. Fine. It's not your cup of tea. You don't like the cosmetic of it. But you cannot argue that this is not a piece of art. You cannot appreciate it for its artistic value. Sorry. I like it.
No, and like there's things that you don't even notice like on first glance. Like her costume, Hi-Fi has given it like it's not just this plain white flat costume. There's all sorts of shading. There's like highlights to show that it's like the patent leather probably like it just the details here are what send it to the top. One thing I don't think that we have, just real quick while I'm looking at this cover, one thing I don't think that we have addressed so far is the brilliance of the new X-Men logo and how it just like if you didn't know that it said new X-Men, it just looks like it said any way, you know, you can hold it upside down or right side up and it says new X-Men either way, and just whoever designed that logo is brilliant. I love it.
I didn't know that until this moment.
Are you kidding me? You didn't know? You have never in the last 24 years noticed that the logo was right side up either way?
Stop putting me on the spot. No, I am dumb and pretty. That's it. That's as far as I can go. Oh my God, you're right.
It's a genius design. Whoever designed this logo, this is probably my favorite X-Men logo of all time. I love it so fucking much.
Holy shit! It is always, no matter how you hold. I'm sorry, the phone is changing directions, but even if you hold it on the side, you can see new. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, no, wait, maybe not on the side.
Maybe not on the side.
No, maybe not on the side, but you know what I mean. I'm like, oh my God. Who was Mike Martz was the editor at this time, right? Mike Martz. No. It was Mark Powers. Mark Powers. Wow. 100% giving them their flowers. Like the X Office. This is the kind of shit we need again. This is the kind of shit we need in the X books. I think we came close to Hickman with Krakoan language, although, you know, there is another podcaster out there who said they went up to Hickman with Krakoan language, and according to this podcaster, allegedly Hickman said was like, oh, I don't know it. Like, I don't know how to read it. And that just makes me so sad. Like, come on, there's so much thought, and the fact that people care so much about the logo, it just, I don't know. Don't be a hater sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, just roll with it or just pretend you don't have your glasses.
Roll with it, God damn it.
Anyways, brilliant cover.
Wow, we haven't even gotten past the cover.
I know. Well, that's why when we were talking about doing Poptopia today, and I was like, we're both on a time limit. We're going to be talking so much about every single detail.
This issue deserves the full episode.
Okay.
Because even once you get past the cover to the splash page, like, my God, it's incredible.
Wait, I don't have the splash page. Where's the splash page?
What do you mean?
Okay, show me.
It's Beast.
Okay. I wouldn't have called it splash. I would have called it the full page. But fine.
It's a splash. The technical term for a page with only one panel is a splash page.
Okay, I would have called it a full page. But fine. Thank you for explaining it to me.
A full page splash.
Fuck you. Anyways. Yes.
This is my job.
I know it is. I hate that you're part of the industry now because I can't argue with you. I can't the part of me that just wants to fight with you is like, oh no, actually he's the expert here. Like you literally do this for a living.
So very sorry.
Anyways, okay. So, do you remember last week when they were in when the Wild Sentinel was killing all the people in Magda Square?
Yep.
If you zoom in to the right of Beast, there's that man holding the baby, and now they are skeleton. Again, fuck anyone who says that Quietly is not a great artist. This little attention to detail is next level.
Absolutely next level. And I mean, the opening line from Beast just this there didn't even need to be dialogue on this page, but Morrison still kills it with, I don't know how to break this to you, but your dating days, baby, over, my friend. Like, what a bitch, but also what a perfect like opening. And he says, Hank says on the next page, gallows humor is how he's,
Coping.
dealing with this. And I'm like, I get it. I would be the exact same way if I'm sorting through the remains of 16 million people.
He's in shock. And that's something that I love about these opening pages that we're going to see and dissect very much so. They're all in shock here. The X-Men, so Beast and Jean are in Genosha. They're trying to figure out who they've lost. Cerebra is picking up signs of life, but Jean and Beast are like, we've been here a long time. There is no sign of life. And Jean is like, they have the person who did this apprehended, and of course it's Cassandra Nova.
They found out who did this. Scott and Logan brought some woman in, but of course, they don't have time to get into who that woman might be and why she might have done this, because Jean picks up some thoughts underground.
Yes, wait, I want to get the exact line here where she's like, please, there's someone alive and there must be 50 oh no, that's a construction worker. And she goes, trust me, I compensate for unnaturally thin wrists and ankles with an extremely buff mind. And who emerges from the rubble?
It's none other than Emma Grace Frost holding the body of Negasonic Teenage Warhead, but there is something a little different about Emma on this page. What could it be?
Gasp! Is she a robot? She might be a sentinel. No,
Her skin, what's that all over?
she's Diamond, the first appearance of Emma Frost as a diamond.
It is everything. It is everything. The art, again, we have to give it to Hi-Fi Design. They really sell Emma being in diamond here. There's layers to it. She's shiny, but it is beautiful. It is a beautiful look for Emma. I don't know of a single Emma Frost fan who was upset by Emma suddenly being able to turn into diamond. It's just a really, really great scene. And I really have to give Morrison some more credit here, like not just for Emma. You mentioned the line about Jean compensating for her unnaturally thin wrists with an extremely buff mind, but just that is just one of a few incredible lines that we have in this sequence. I mean, to really drive home how gross and terrible this is, Beast says something about, Jean sensing the thoughts underground. Might be, paranoid schizophrenia induced by the sight of mutant fat dripping from twisted bus shelters. That's incredible. And then on the next page, he says, please don't be alarmed. I know I look like a special effect, but we're actually here to help. And most writers are lucky if they have one or two memorable, like really memorable lines in their entire career. And we have three in just a handful of panels, and we're not even done with like brilliant lines for the issue.
The lines only get better from here on out. And
Yes.
again, it's because I think why these lines are so brilliant is because there's so much layer within these characters and these emotions. Again, Scott and Logan are back at the manor, and Jean and Beast are on site, and they're in two very different mindsets, and they're witnessing these atrocities, and they're using humor. But I also like the rescue worker who says, you X people have no official status. You know that, don't you? Because they're in Genosha, they're trying to, help out there. I just love these subtle nuances that really build the world around you and give you context.
Right, like even the workers on Genosha who are ostensibly there helping the mutants still seem to have some sort of bias against mutants. Or at least the X-Men.
Yeah, no, and we're going to see that again, even in the wake of Genosha. And I was thinking about you when I was reading this issue, because even as something as atrocious as Genosha happening, people are weighing in, saying the most despicable things imaginable, and it's such a cultural sample. Again, I don't know how anyone could be like, I don't like Morrison's new X movie, because it's such a cultural sample to what's going on in today's world. And again,
Absolutely.
Morrison just had their foot on the accelerator and had a great understanding of society and conversations that have happened. Morrison was paying attention. Anyway, okay, wait. A couple things I just want to say really quickly. Morrison, in an interview, mentioned wanting Emma to have diamond skin because I believe originally, and we'll get into this with the Morrison Manifesto, they wanted Colossus. So
Yes.
Emma having the diamond skin was a way of making her a brute, and also something that would make her pop on the panel visually. She was wearing a white costume, so she's already popping. However,
Right.
fair is fair.
It's fair, and I think it just gives Emma. There's so many telepaths running around, the X universe, and I think giving Emma something that sets her apart. Betsy has her psychic knife, Jean has the Phoenix, Charles is Charles. Like, it just gives Emma something more than that makes her more than just another telepath. I love it. I never questioned this development. I loved it from the outset, and it just quietly really sells the diamond form here in these panels. And I want to. Is this the first time we've seen Jean fully suited up with the jacket and everything? Because I
think this is the first time we see her with the new X-Men jacket.
She just looks great. Even just
One of
the
her
panel
best.
of her telekinetically moving all of the debris to free Emma, with the way her hair is flowing with the telekinesis. This is my favorite Jean Grey by far. I just love this version of Jean Grey.
Can we break down Emma's dialogue here? Because this, to me, is hysterical. She emerges from the rubble, and Beast is like, I can see something shiny, or someone shiny, and she goes, her name is Ellie Master. Her mutant name is Negasonic Teenage Warhead. She chose it herself. She will be a credit to her family and other species. Get her to a hospital. And the paramedics are like, this kid is dead. And she's like, get her to a hospital. And again, the paramedics say the kid's dead. And Emma says, then bring her back to life, you imbecile. Emma is in a state of shock. Emma is in shock. And that is what I love about the scene, that even in this moment, Emma's coming out. People on the surface may think she's being funny. She is hysterical. And as we'll find out later in the issue, she saw students die. She saw her pianist looking for their hands. Oh my God. Can I tell you, can I be honest for a second?
Yes, of course.
I think X-Men 97 was perfect. Yeah, there was a lot of great things. But the way Emma emerges from the rubble, I think it could have been done better. I was expecting something like this.
It's definitely not as impactful as this. I realize there's only, we got Inferno in 20 minutes. So I understand why it was condensed, but I do agree. I thought it could have been more of a moment for sure. And what I really love here is what Quietly has done is, Emma emerges with Negasonic Teenage Warhead in her arms. She's looking very she's still, got her head held high. She's looking very confident, and just the progression of her, these 4 panels, where she goes from being confident to, understanding that she might be she's actually dead. Ellie's actually dead, and then she drops to her knees, and it just, the body language and the progression of Emma's grief here, like going from kind of delusion, like fix her, she needs to get to a hospital, to defeat falling to her knees.
She'll be fine. She just needs to get to a hospital. And they're like, no, she's dead. She's like, I can't bring her back to life. It's just so, like, I feel for Emma in that moment. Yes. Anyone who has seen someone die quickly in front of them, it doesn't register they're dead. You think, I just need to get them to the hospital. And you can just picture Emma has been underground, seeing everyone around her die, but she's holding Negasonic, and she's like, I just need to get her to the hospital. She'll be fine. Emma, but again, this encapsulates everything about Emma. She is a teacher. Yes. She is a teacher. She is not this little snarky bitch at the Hellfire Club. She cares about this next generation. She cares about her students, and she's clinging to life. And by the way, no mistaking that Negasonic is dead. She has like shards of glass in her. Her head is back. Girl's dead. Oh my goodness. Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
I just want to just another layer to this brilliance. Like, it tells you everything you need to know about Emma's grief here, about this particular event. But it also, for people who have been reading the X-Men for a long time, we know this isn't the first traumatic student death that Emma has faced. So this just like her reaction here and falling to her knees and her denial and about what is truly happening all stems out from traumatic experiences in the past. So while this scene is like insanely moving on its own, when you know the history and you can layer that in even more, it just has even more of an impact.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. Oh man, like you just gave me like a different layer in this. Yeah, she saw the Hellions die because of Trevor Fitzroy. And now it's not only Genosha and this entire generation of mutants, 16 million souls wiped out, but for Emma, it's like another student now is dead. Like, I am such a fit. Like, her fault. Okay, we have to move on because I'm going to cry. Oh,
yeah, we could go on.
I'm such a wimp. I am such a wimp these days, but I agree. Oh, brilliant. Anyways, pick us up for the next page.
So we jump back to the Xavier Institute where Scott and Charles and Logan are watching the news. It's while they have Nova in like a zero gravity containment cell that they built for the Juggernaut. So far, it's holding. And I just want to say that the first panel on this page, the shot of Professor X with his head in his hands, like doing this eye thing, watching the news about Genosha, of course we've seen Xavier stressed before, but we've never seen him like this before. It's a truly visceral panel from Quietly here that just sells how much this is weighing on the unofficial leader of mutant kind. It is just so good. No notes.
I agree. I mean, again,
it could be.
Quietly is a master of body language. Body language is where Quietly excels in. It is that, I mean, who hasn't done that when they've gotten terrible news that you're just like that? Your hands are like literally like on your nose, under your eye, and you're just like pulling down. The news is circulating all around Professor X. Reports that, Sentinels as tall as buildings, and, the Sentinels are dormant now, but the news people are afraid of it. And Cyclops is trying to talk to Xavier, giving him a debrief about everything going on with Juggernaut, and all Xavier can say is Magneto is dead. That, like, his best friend, his long contemporary, is dead. And what are we to do with the creature who did this? I mean, it's
incredible. And just like the shift between the last panel on this page where they're asking what are we to do with the creature who did this, where Nova her eyes are closed, she's got a blank look on her face, and then you go to the next page and suddenly her eyes are open and she has this wicked smile on her face, like she's just observing and taking this all in. And it's kind of, hearing how traumatized they are by all of this is just like a victory lap for her. She's just like eating this up. She's loving it.
Because as we're going to discover later on in the issue, she's exactly where she wants to be. And we find out that Wolverine severed her vocal cords, and that was all, done because she is voice activating the Sentinels, so it had to be done. And, Wolverine says that was an executive decision. And we end this page with Xavier saying 16 million mutants are dead. Why? The next pages, though.
Two of the greatest pages in comic book history. Literally. Please.
No. Wait. Okay, wait. We're going to reenact the Jean and Emma scene between us. I'll be Jean and you'll be Emma. But before we get to it, I think the pages of Beast examining Emma are just brilliant, and it shows their dynamic. They can be playful with each other. Emma is getting scanned because now she's a diamond, and we're introduced to the concept of secondary mutation for the first time.
Yeah, I possibly the best Beast pages in 60 plus years of X-Men comics. And I mean, just before we even get to Jean Grey walking in the room, just Morrison's incredible handle on the character of Emma Frost is just further cemented here. I mean, it should be everything around them is very serious, but she still has time to insult Beast's breath as he's explaining, secondary mutations to her. And again, more incredible lines here. Emma says, no, sorry, Beast says, it describes it as an exoskeleton of invulnerable organic jewelry, is how he describes Emma's secondary mutations before he says about himself, I, for my sins, have magically transformed into Tony the Tiger on barbiturates. It's just incredible writing by Morrison, perfectly matched by the gorgeous art of Quietly. I literally can't say enough good things about this interaction between the two characters. It sets up their entire dynamic. I don't even think these two characters have interacted before in X-Men history. I can't think of another occasion where they have, and if they have, it was completely insignificant. Morrison is establishing their entire relationship for the series and the future on these pages.
They are partners in crime. They're two little giddy friends. They're always exchanging jokes between each other. We'll see that. There are confidence. Beast will be profoundly impacted by Emma. When Emma says, your pseudo-medical explanations are far from satisfactory, Mr. McCoy. And as for your breath. And then Beast, says the Tony the Tiger reference. And then Emma's line, forgive me, Henry. Grief so often makes one shrill and judgmental. I do look rather spectacular in the light, don't I? Oh, and the way Emma's holding her hand out and touching her diamond arm. Perfect.
Incredible.
Wait. I hate to be repetitive. I don't understand when people do not like Morrison. I don't, and Quietly, I don't get it. This is a rarity in how fully realized these characters are, and it's not just in broad strokes. It is every panel, and every panel is given so much attention to detail.
Yeah, I literally no notes there. This entire lab scene with Beast, Emma, and then Jean. It is one of my favorite exchanges across all X books. It's brilliant and it's beautiful, and I could literally talk about this all day, but we have to get to yes, the Beast and Emma stuff is phenomenal, but once Jean walks into the room, it's just an entirely different situation. Three of the greatest comic book panels of all time, and you're right, we absolutely have to read these word for word here.
Okay, so why don't you kick off with Emma?
Where should I start? Should we start with Oh Come On Jean, or should I start with Enough? I think Enough is fine.
Jean walks in because Emma's feeling really upset, and she said, but I saw children being shredded into wafer-thin slices. The monster who did this has to die. And then Jean walks in saying, killing others was Magneto's way. You saw it. His ideas died in Genosha.
Oh, come on, Jean. Humans made those sentinels to kill mutants. That thing in your cell gave the order.
I know, and Genosha is gone, so the only way left now is the Professor's way. We need your strength and brilliance to help us recover from this.
We all knew something like this would happen in the end. They're wiping us out. Enough! I've called a taxi telepathically, Jean. I've become the perfect Fabergé killing machine for a reason, and that reason is surely not to wave the flag for ex-liberalism.
What makes you such a bitch, Emma?
Breeding, darling. Top-class breeding.
Holy shit.
Just, speechless. I'm absolutely, what can I say about this exchange? It's just, wow. Everything, not only is it just beautiful writing, hilarious, snarky, serious, it also tells you everything you need to know about the Emma and Jean relationship. It's boiled down to just these 3 panels and one incredible exchange. And this is truly one of the scenes from X-Men comics that will be with me for the rest of my life.
They hate each other.
They
They
hate each
have
other,
they have
absolutely.
baggage. They have baggage from the Dark Phoenix saga. They have baggage from X-Men where they switched bodies. They have baggage and they are not okay with each other. And Jean has a temper. Jean snaps first. Jean is just like, what makes you such a bitch? And Emma, so snarky, ready in the back pocket. Breeding, darling. Top class breeding. So condescending, so beautiful. Again, when people are like, "Oh, new X-Men, whatever," it had no impact. Even Hickman tried to replicate that with Monet and Jean. There were so many cues that Hickman tried to take from Morrison. That's why when they were doing the X-Men anniversary Zoom, they paired Hickman and Morrison together.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the Monet page, obviously, with Try Harder, Marvel Girl, mwah, mwah, that is also incredible. I have to give Hickman all of the props for that, but nothing beats this Emma and Jean exchange. And I mean, if you'll forgive me for ranting for a moment, but like this scene has stuck with me so much that I can literally tell you everything about where I was when I first read it. Like I remember, everything. I was 18 years old. It was my first. I honestly want to say it was my first day of college ever. I was sitting in like a green recliner that I inherited from my grandmother, and I that day I had gone to the comic shop and bought the ES4 Extinction trade at Ground Zero Comics in Tyler, Texas. And I remember reading this and actually like howling out loud. It just was so funny and such a break from all of the seriousness of the story. And like now I'm really getting off track here, but
No,
like
no,
it's
this is what the people come for.
so there was, like I said, that I had started college that day, and there was a girl named Samantha that I met in class that day. And as I was reading the ES4 Extinction trade, she showed up randomly at my apartment, knocked on the door. And even though I didn't know her like at all at that point, I just remember totally geeking out about X-Men and Emma. And she actually went back to the comic shop with me that afternoon, and I bought two posters. One was the cover to the ES4 Extinction trade with the whole team in front of
Yeah.
like the grave for humanity, and the other was Greg Horn's cover to Emma Frost #1, um,
Wait,
which
is
which my
that's the one where she's sitting down holding the
in the
rose,
Rose
right? Yeah,
Garden.
yeah. Which is
Yes,
also
yeah,
based off of there's a statue as well.
yeah.
They did a statue. I have that one in storage.
Yeah, no, and that's a iconic image. And like my friend Samantha thought that image was so hot that she also just out of nowhere bought that Emma Frost poster. And I remember she had it laminated and like took such good care of it. So
Samantha, we're gonna steal that laminated Greg Horn poster if you still have it like 25 years later.
well, I mean, not to get all dark and sad, but Samantha actually died
Oh my
in a car
god.
accident
Oh
about
my
2 years
god.
later.
Oh my
So
god. I'm so sorry.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, so special shout out to Samantha for being such a good
We
person
love you,
and
Samantha.
letting me be my true geeky self and geek out about Emma Frost and appreciating the genius of Emma Frost. So like that, I will always kind of like I said, I got way off track there, but
No, that's
I have like
beautiful.
a very positive life memory associated with this as well, and just it E is for Extinction, and specifically Emma Frost within that is always going to hold a special place in my heart, just for where I was in life when I was
Yeah.
reading this for the first time. Like
Jeff
I
and I had
think,
just started dating as well. It was a beautiful time. It was a really fun place to be in the early aughts.
and I feel like you had without that context, like maybe I can understand why someone doesn't appreciate it as much as we do. That's not to say I understand someone not liking it, but I can understand not having the context of that living through that era and reading this alongside maybe it's not your favorite, but like, no, again, I will
But
cut anybody who
it's a
says this is bad.
resurgence, but it's a resurgence of the X-Men. Again, I don't think folks understand that after Onslaught, the books really Marvel was going through financial woes. There was a lot of strife. People were left the X books. Now everyone was coming back, and you could go to the comic book store, and then you have a poster of Emma Frost in her new costume. And again, the information was just not as widespread as
Yeah.
it is today. So it's not like you knew all this was happening for something
No.
like Hickman's, reboot. It's new, and you had to go out and find the information, and you were discovering things that were good and nice.
Yeah.
Digress. We're only halfway through the issue, Familia.
Yeah,
So
we gotta stop because
if
there's
you
more.
need,
There's
there's
more.
more. There's just more. So if you need to go take a bathroom break, go hit pause now. But why don't you let's pick up in the next page where Cassandra Nova is in that Juggernaut gravitational holding cell.
Yeah, so she's just sort of floating in a zero gravity situation, and Beast is explaining to us, what she is, and I'm just going to read exactly what he says. Every few 100,000 years, evolution takes huge catastrophic jumps. Old life forms get wiped from the fossil record overnight and are replaced. I think Cassandra Nova is the first of a new unforeseen species. And he worries that this could become a war for the domination of the biosphere. And I just, first of all, speaking of the plot, I just love this idea of Cassandra being what evolution brings after Homo Superior, and she is just this huge, massive threat to them, which sort of mirrors how humans view mutants as an evolutionary threat. But this just like really, really dials it up and kind of makes it clear that evolution is the real enemy in the Morrison run.
I
And I
The way
do
you
want
just said that gave me goosebumps. Oh my god, you're right, and those are themes that till the bitter end, the last issue of Morrison's run, evolution, it being the looming threat is 100%. You're right. I love you so much. I never even thought about it like that.
it just it's the through thread throughout the entire run. The human sublime.
Yeah,
It
you're
even
absolutely right.
factors into here comes tomorrow. Like it's truly like you don't, like you said, you don't really realize it until you've sat with this the entirety of this run for a while. And I do want to, again, I have to give props to Frank Whiteley. The third panel is just a shot of Beast adjusting his
Oh,
glasses that telegraphs the next panel because you can see in the reflection of his glasses Jean, Professor X, and Wolverine standing there. And
I literally was about to say that too. I was about to say that. Again, master of body language and details is Frank Whiteley.
yes, and you can just tell, like you said, body language. Like Jean is she's asking the questions. Can't we think of a better way to deal with this? She's in an inquisitive pose, whereas Wolverine has his arms folded and he's all gruff and tough about it, and it
Wait,
speaks
his
volumes.
line, his line. They're trying to ruin the dramatic atmosphere, Hank. Ignore him. Does she on people? Wolverine, silent but deadly there with that line.
Stirring the pot. I just love everything about this page is incredible. The next page we go back into what we've talked about in the last couple of issues, where the environment sort of transforms as they are needing to see different things. There's blood cells, there's DNA. You know, Hank again confirms that the human race is at an end and will be replaced within maybe 3 or 4 generations, maybe by the mutants or maybe by something even worse like Cassandra Nova. And it just, these seeds being planted they really have a payoff throughout the run of this, but
They do.
it's just such a
Well,
fresh, different perspective on the problems that the X-Men have always faced. And no notes, kudos. Like we say it a million times, Morrison just writes the hell out of this.
Beast says this E gene turns on when an entire species is about to be turned off. The human race is at an end. There's an extinction gene within the human genome. They have discovered this, and this is why Cassandra Nova has now emerged, because she's trying to fight the dominance of the mutants from taking over. Familia, put a pin in this, because when we get later down the line, the E gene will be addressed again by Hank in very interesting ways. It's just epic. It's next level. That's exactly what it is. And, Cassandra Nova sort of wakes up. Jean is trying to get inside her head. They're trying to probe her. And then that's when Cassandra Nova unleashes her fury. And she just shatters the cell she's in. She shatters all the windows around the mansion. And this is a really interesting line. The X-Men are getting ready to fight, and it's Beast, it's Wolverine, it's Xavier, Scott, and Jean. Emma's not here. And Xavier says, stay calm, remember your formations, and ... Cyclops jumps in and says, no formation, everybody on instinct. And for me, this is from the possession of Apocalypse, where Cyclops is now questioning everything. He's not going to take orders anymore. He's going to do things that feel intuitive to him. It is such a minor little note on Cyclops' character development.
Yeah, it just shows that Xavier is losing his handle on his star student, his Boy Scout, who has until this point pretty much followed orders for his entire career as an X-Man. And it's a very small but significant moment. It's a seed planted that grows into this really amazing story arc for Cyclops over the next 10 years after the conclusion of Morrison's run. And I mean, again, back to the art. Of course, after all of the standing around and talking this issue, there needs to be some action, but it's still the way Quietly pulls this together. It's kind of like it's an action scene for sure. There's no denying that, but it's also kind of understated, but still effective. Like there's no full page splashes of battle scenes filled with a huge amount of characters. It's more subdued, which I feel like gives it a different kind of power. It really, I don't know. And then of course, even amongst the big battle scene, Morrison still makes sure to incorporate some really, really great character work. On the page after Cassandra escapes, she starts telepathically attacking Cyclops, and this is the first appearance of the Black Bug Room, which is something that will come into play not just in Morrison, but I think in Whedon and maybe beyond.
From the Ashes, the issue of Jean and Cyclops right before Jean goes off in space deals with Cyclops' bug room. Again, anyone's like, oh, no impacts, all these great ideas you see in the X-Men, a lot of them were seeded by Morrison. Sorry.
Yes. It's true.
I'm not going to be rational about it. I'm not, because the thing is, Morrison just brought in such great ideas to the table, not transcending even just your feels for X-Men, but as an IP that people can use these things later down the line. The White Hot Room, the Bug Room, Cassandra Nova. It's just Genosha. These are major things that the IP now gets to have in its arsenal because of Morrison. Sorry.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And just, we don't even know the significance of these things as they're happening now, but as a result of being sent to the Black Bug Room, he comes out and he's during this huge battle, he's telling Jean that there are things about the relationship that they need to talk about as she is under an intense psychic attack from Cassandra Nova. As far as action scenes go, this is one of the best, but it's one of the best not because of just this insane amount of character dialogue or characters on the page hacking and slashing at things. It's an incredible action scene because it takes the time to touch in on the characters and do character work as the violence is taking place. And you know, I love just after that, Beast tells Cyclops to snap out of it. The bad guy is killing Wolverine. I love the
Oh,
psychic
that.
armor.
Oh man, but like that shot of Wolverine trying to get Cassandra Nova and her arm is gone. His arm
Yes.
is gone. So great.
Yes.
Um,
It's like really brutal, but it sells it without being gross.
I
And
again,
that's a skill.
it's just his adamantium. Oh my God! Careful, the U.S. government's going to come and take this and use it for economic growth. Anyways,
Of course they would.
yeah. But okay, one thing though, I just want to, because I hate it when people are like Cyclops is just a jerk. That always gets me, or he's like, oh asshole. Right here, he's showing his vulnerability to Jean. He is trying to say, hey, we have shit that's wrong with us. I need to talk to you. We need to talk about our problems. Because it's not just him having an affair. We'll see again later on that Jean is on a different path than he is. We will discuss it when we get there. But Cyclops, in this moment, he wants to talk to his wife. He's in the bug room. He just came out of it. He's trying. So, again, props for Morrison to show the morally gray area that happens when when affairs are happening.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And like I said, Beast tells him to snap out. Beast might slap him, honestly, with the
Oh
placement,
yeah!
with the
Oh my
placement
God!
of the hand and the
Yeah, he
expression
went like
across
that.
his face.
He went like this. He went like, yeah, snap out of it. Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever noticed that he
No,
actually
I
snapped him
haven't.
before.
No, I never have either. Oh man, great detail.
We
Again,
we're still discovering things.
again, Familia, I hope you're reading along with us. This run is worth it. You can get it at your local comic book store. You can get it on Marvel Unlimited. If you need help finding it, just DM one of us. We will point you in the right direction for it. But Cassandra Nova's goal, where's Cassandra Nova going? To Cerebra. And Wolverine is healing. Beast offers him some painkillers, but he's like, save it. She is getting away. And Cassandra Nova is inching her way towards Cerebra. But
Before we get to Cerebro, we
oh my
have
God.
another incredible page.
Oh.
As the windows after the windows were busted out of the Xavier Institute and there is smoke pouring out of them, Emma is in a yellow cab, pulling away from the Institute. And again,
She made good on her threat. She telepathically called herself a cat, which I love, by the way. The fact that a telepath can just, instead of picking up the phone and calling, she can hail it. She made good on her threat. Don't fuck with Emma Grace Frost. She called that cab. Sorry.
absolute no. And the cab driver it doesn't seem like he's a bigot, but of course he has opinions on mutants that he is.
I'm not a racist, but
Exactly. It's very those vibes. Emma is clearly disinterested in it, but again, the brilliant writing. Everything that happens on this page is very much in line with her existing characters. She talks about being a teacher. The cab driver makes, a reference to, is that an English accent, honey? Which, of course, it is not, but she has affected one for reasons that we will sort of get into
She
later.
fakes it. She fakes her English accent, which I love. I love that little nuance. By the way, and Phantom X also fakes his French accent as well. I believe that's mentioned. But I love that it's all about appearances for Emma. I love it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like I said, all of this is
She's from Boston. She'd have that the Bostonian accent, that asshole accent.
Like I was saying, all of this is mentioning a teacher, the accent, all of it is very in line with her existing character, but then she has these like really great lines. She's she wants to go to Van Cleef and Arpels on 5th at 57th Driver. She intends to have her diamond form valued. And then at she has, on second thought, I've just had an epiphany, like St. Paul on the road to Damascus. Stop the car.
The drama. Stop the car as the school is burning behind her. They're at the gates. The school is burning, and she's like, "Driver, stop your car immediately!" Oh my God.
And like this, just like this is probably the 500th time I've said it, but it's like very in line with her existing character. But at the same time, it feels like such a fresh take on Emma, and that Morrison has given her such a unique voice and has such a good handle on writing her just within the context of this one singular issue.
Morrison loves Emma. But this
Yeah,
is their baby. But just to really quickly note the St. Paul reference, because obviously my name is Paul. I
of
am
course.
confirmed as Paul. Saul was on the road to Damascus, and he sees the light, and he becomes a Saul turned Paul. So it's all about that reference is like a biblical massive change. I
Hmm.
love, again, the dialogue is just dripping. It drips with symbolism, with so much more. Emma is having a spiritual revolution. This is her big change of heart.
Yeah, yeah. And again, circling back one more time to the art, the third panel on this page is literally just a side profile of Emma in the cab, but she has her hair tucked into her coat and her gloved hand tucked under her chin. And I couldn't tell you why exactly, but I find that particular shot to be just such an iconic shot of the character.
I agree with you. But because like okay, this cab driver, she doesn't even want to engage with, right?
You don't
I'm
even
not.
see him.
You don't even see him. It's just his voice. But he says, "I'm not a racist," but whatever he's saying. But Emma is like not even gonna give this guy oxygen. She's like, whatever. I just sit in the back. Emma's being like, I just want to go. I just want to make it back into the city so I can get myself valued. And she's, that's sort of her way, like her comfort there. And then she's like, wait a minute. I love it. I agree with you. It's iconic because Emma is just dismissive in front of her, is thinking of what she wants to do once she gets into the city, but also she doesn't want to leave. So she is in turmoil. It's so much and with style. I'm sorry. I know. It's one little panel we are dissecting like this.
That's what the people are here for, I think. But I do have a question for you. What do you think Emma's epiphany was? Like, again, you mentioned it earlier. Later in this issue, she says she came back for her LV handbag. That's clearly not the epiphany. What do you think the epiphany was?
I think because as she will say, there's some things you just can't get away with. And I think killing 16 million mutants, not only just those 16 million, but her student. Yeah. And that there's no other. This is going to go back to what that argument was with Jean, where she's like, I'm not here to wave the ex-liberalism flag. She actually, I think, in this moment realizes that she was wrong, that this is probably the only place that she can make a difference now that Genosha's gone, and she needs to be in the forefront. Jean says it. We need you. We need your brilliance. And I think Emma in this moment realizes Jean Grey was right. She won't say it. She won't say it.
Clock is right at least twice a day.
But she won't say it. But she knows Jean was right, and that's why that's why back at the mansion, Cassandra Nova is kicking their asses. She has made it to. She phases into Cerebra. Cassandra Nova's powers are a little nebulous, in my opinion. Here,
she can do whatever the fuck she wants.
Yeah, whatever she can think it. She can phase. She has this exoskeleton that forms around her. They're like she can't make it into Cerebra, and she does, and she goes, I can reach anyone here, but I just need one mind. I just want one person. And then what happens?
I love it so much that I'm almost speechless. Emma Frost comes up behind her in Cerebro and breaks her freaking neck. Just snap. And it's the way that it's told across 4 panels. The top large panel is the action shot of Emma actually breaking the neck, and then we have 3 smaller panels sort of that splits Emma into 3, but also is showing Nova slowly falling to her death out of the Cerebra helmet. Hot shirtless Frank Quietly Wolverine is, floored by this and is like, you okay with this, Scott? And, Cyclops' response was, well, post-apocalypse, his response is, well, she had to be neutralized. And then he's, Emma, I knew you wouldn't turn your back on us. Which
Planting the seeds there. There's a connection between Scott and Emma. Scott understands Emma and all that stuff. By the way, I just wanted to note, because I think when you read the page, the art kind of looks weird. The Frank Quitely art looks kind of weird with Nova kind of falling, but you get the full body Emma. But when you read it panel for panel viewing on the app, it's so kinetic. Like you just see Cassandra Nova falling. It's taken me a long time to really digest it like that.
Yeah, you're right. I've never actually like when you do it the full panel view on Marvel because I'm reading this, I'm reading it in my omnibus.
Yeah.
Flipping through an omnibus when we're recording is kind of a pain in the ass. So I'm looking at it on my iPad now, and you're right. Like just this progression,
it's
is
animated,
just incredible.
It's animated. It looks like something out of a television show. The way it falls through, again, that's groundbreaking.
It's a Marvel motion comic before there were Marvel motion comics, which flopped.
I mean, yeah, RIP on that. But I just cannot. Emma's line, there are just some things you shouldn't be allowed to get away with. Oh my God. What a beautiful line. What a beautiful line. And she's not wrong. Emma Frost.
She's not wrong.
Emma Frost
she's
was
absolutely
right.
not wrong. And she's not even done because after Cyclops, wants to give her credit for not turning her back on the X-Men, her response to him is, sweet as you are, I didn't come back for you, Scott. I came for my handbag. Lucky for you, this is a Louis Vuitton. Like, yes, you called it out earlier, but
I think she's flirting with him. By the way, now reading this, I think she liked that Cyclops had said something like, "I knew you wouldn't pay, turn your back on us," and Emma just is casually like she's teasing him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She likes him, and she's going easy on him. Whereas in contrast, Emma and Jean the claws are out, and then Charles. Okay, wait. So then Cassandra Nova, Wolverine, calls out. She has healing gifts, right? And then we see Cassandra Nova saying, Charles, and then Charles shoots her, and blood splatters everywhere. And Charles
shoots her
says
5 times, by the way.
And he says, it killed 16 million mutants. It would have killed all of us. May prosperity forgive me. To which Emma says, may our dry cleaners forgive you, Charles, dear. But
May
wait.
God award you a medal for your uninhibited marksmanship.
So I don't know how we want to talk about this because this panel where Cassandra Nova is struggling and she's saying, Charles, is pretty significant.
It's very significant. And I feel... I don't know. I'm of two minds. Like, I really want to discuss it with you right now, but I also think that there could be people who are reading along and
for the first time.
But
let's pin it, Familia, right there. Cassandra Nova is struggling to say word gibberish, Charles, and then Charles shoots her. Very significant.
There is, of course, a significant twist to this that comes later. But I do want to say that I think Xavier pulling the gun earlier in this arc, I was less inclined to question what was happening here, which, of course, Xavier shooting somebody 5 times is wildly out of character.
The same gun that he would use to kill himself should something catastrophic happen.
Correct.
So, again, Morrison's being so great. Layers in the writing, deflecting us like, this was... Charles really had to go for it, and he's using that gun because you're not thinking about what really is happening in the scene. So what really is taking place here, Familia, we're not seeing it. Initially, there's much more subtext to the scene than the surface drama.
Yes, and we will definitely circle back to that, but for now, the threat has been neutralized. Xavier says, I won't allow any more mutants to die. Things must change now. And then the classic line, to me, my X-Men, and we get a brilliant shot of all of the key X-Men players in this issue. Hot shirtless Frank Quitely Wolverine, Beast consoling Jean, Emma with her hair tucked right back into her jacket, looking, covered in blue goo, and then Cyclops, serious as ever, standing tall with his arms folded across his chest, and Xavier with one little trickle of blood going down his face. This panel is not your typical iconic team shot, to me, my X-Men. It really drives home that, this X-Men is different.
This ain't your grandpa's X-Men.
Exactly. I mean, usually when you get the To Me, My X-Men, they're charging into battle. Yeah. They're going to do like an epic team shot, like something completely different. This is more subdued, full of body language, but just as impactful as a To Me, My X-Men could ever be, in my opinion. I just love it. But that's not the end of the issue. That could
No.
very well have served as an excellent finale to this issue, but oh no,
It's
there's
post credit.
more.
This is post credit scenes before post credit scenes existed.
Yep.
Because then we pick up with something, I don't want to say left field, but just a dramatic shift in scenes. And it's Scott and Jean in bed, and they're watching Xavier with a news conference. And there's, the reports coming in that now changing stereotype portrayals of mutants in movies and on TV. Most mutants are decent, law abiding people. We see Xavier there, and against the backdrop of Scott and Jean watching him on TV, Jean and Scott are talking about their marital issues. And Jean is talking about how they haven't touched each other in months and that this marriage feels like really strained and cold. And Cyclops is opening up to her. Cyclops is like, I can't make it feel like it used to. It's not what's the point of all of it coming out wrong? Read my mind, Jean. And Jean's like, no, read my lips. We will get through this together. I think, again, you're seeing their marriage in a very vulnerable spot.
It's evolving.
And Scott is straight. Yeah, and by the way, Morrison talked about this going into New X-Men when they were thinking about what am I going to do with Scott and Jean. They brought up the really valid point that in terms of a love story and a marriage, they did the Death March on the blue area of the moon back when Jean was Dark Phoenix. And it was this epic, grand love story where the entire universe is trying to stop their love. Where do you go after a big story like that as a marriage? What happens to that relationship? So I think Morrison is doing a lot of groundwork here for both characters, by the way.
Absolutely.
For
Absolutely.
both characters.
I mean, this marriage drama is like, even just on a base level, the marriage drama is just delicious from like a soap opera angle. But also, what I find really important here, or really interesting here, is the parallels to her experiences with Dark Phoenix and his with Apocalypse are referenced and are driving this story. And I think a lot of other writers would just ignore all of that to just keep the Scott and romance plodding along as boringly as it always has. And I just love that Morrison is making it, the marriage problems and the fact that he's detached because he's been possessed by Apocalypse. I love that they're making it so central to this run and the characters, because oftentimes, like I said, when a new era of X-Men kicks off, a lot of what came up just immediately before is swept under the rug. But Morrison was smart enough to see there's an interesting story to tell with Cyclops having been possessed by Apocalypse, and is really leaning into that and leaning into Dark Phoenix and just letting the rich history of the X-Men play out in new and interesting ways.
And Cyclops is being introspective.
Yes.
He goes, Jean, when Ensabanor was in my head, he spent a lot of time stripping away a few of my illusions about life and about myself. I realized how many of my high ideals are just based off of self-interest and self-deception. And Jean, again, says, you're not the only person who was ever possessed by an evil spirit, Scott. The bad feelings go away. And he goes, I don't know if I feel bad. I just feel strange and different. Oh my, it's just, again, for everything exactly you just said about Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse, it is, they're not agreeing on this. And by the way, their experiences are different. I mean, Jean, one is possessed by an ancient Egyptian evil. The other is a cosmic firebird. Oh my, but anyways, it doesn't matter because they don't have time to unpack this further, because what does Xavier do? He says, ladies and gentlemen, on national TV, he says, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Charles Xavier, also known as Professor X, and I am a mutant. And he officially outs himself as a mutant to the entire world, which prior to this, it was not public knowledge that he was a mutant.
He was just the world's foremost mutant specialist or whatever the fuck. But yeah, I mean, as obvious as it seems now that Professor X is and was a mutant, the fact that this was 40 years into the X-Men's history and that they had tried to play it off that him being a mutant was a big secret, It just feels like this is a logical next step after Genosha for Xavier to take. Of course, we're not getting into the twist now, but the reasons for him doing this become abundantly clear in a future story arc. And it's just incredible. And I think, oh God, I think a lot of writers, more so in the 90s and maybe now, they like to write about or really lean into the concept of the X-Men as a super team where the action drives the characters. While I always sort of tend to think the mutants are at their best when it's more character driven.
Agreed. 100% agree.
Obviously the big superhero action is important, but I think when you really lean into the soap opera elements like these closing pages of this issue do, is when the X-Men are at their best and they can tell some really special stories. And you have really, these are great character moments, but you really have no way of knowing what these are going to build to. So this is the perfect X-Men for me. Really strong character moments that are going to eventually drive some really great action. And that is what more do you want from the X-Men than this? Fight
Yeah,
me. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Again, fight me. This is one of those things that I will never be rational about. I don't know how anyone can ever say otherwise. Again, this is X-Men at its peak. This issue for me is a 11 out of 10.
Yes.
I mean, this is just ding, 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 ding. This is like when you're at a casino and you hit the jackpot. That's what this issue is. E is for Extinction, issues 1, 2, and 3. Flawless opening arc to New X-Men. All the ideas are planted there, all the seeds, all the character development. I hope people who have been listening to these first 3 episodes understand how epic this is.
Yeah. And I mean, like, listen, you have something like, again, I coming back to Hoxpox and Hickman, but like you have something like that overtly sets up all of these new and interesting concepts. You see that Hickman is seeding these things and that lead these developments are going to lead to additional stories, whether they happened or not. That's another question. But what Morrison is doing here is so brilliant because he's doing the same thing as Hickman. You just don't know it. You just can't see it. Like something again with the Quietly art earlier in the issue when Beast and Emma are in the lab. We didn't mention this earlier, but when he's talking about secondary mutations, he mentions that Jean Grey has her telepathy or telekinesis back. And whether you knew that was a big story before, is that she had lost her telekinesis, kind of
with the Shadow King war with Betsy. Yeah. It was in the 6-month gap.
But but just on these pages of them, of Jean in bed, she's just casually telekinetically floating all of these objects around her, which again is subtly pushing that story of Jean has her telekinesis back and is growing more powerful. It's just another subtle nod to that plot, which will become really core to this story later on. Everything you need to know about where this run is heading is literally on the page in this issue, and it's written in such a way that you can't see where it's going, and you don't understand how all of these dominoes are going to fall into place until they do. And then you go back and you see things like this, and you're just like, holy shit, Morrison is the master of seeding stories.
That's perfect. I cannot believe we have chatted for almost 2 hours again on just one issue, and it is the thing is there's still much more that I feel like there's in this issue that we can unpack, but we have to unpack it throughout time. Even little keys in the art, like when you were talking about Jean with her telekinesis, I have here in my notes, why is Jean shifting around the mail, her keychain with dupe on it, like,
is it dupe or is it dap?
Oh, I was actually going to say goop, like Gwyneth Paltrow's brand. But like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much little nuances there. I still don't even know why she's shifting the mail in the scene, other than maybe she's having an uncomfortable conversation with Scott and she's, moving things around. It is just so well done. There's just so much to discuss. And again, I dare say when we reboot Power of X-Men 20 years from now and we're in our 60s, we'll look back on these pages and find new things with it. I feel that strongly about it. This is a run you can revisit and you will see different things in it. But wow, there we go, Amelia.
Another 2-hour episode of us talking about Frank Quitely and Grant Morrison being the utmost best creators of all time. I don't even.
So next week we'll get into Poptopia. We'll check in on what the other X-Men are doing. We'll cover the Morrison manifesto. One thing I do want to say on the podcast, Joe, just so you can look out for us, I put in for Toy Fair for us. I got approved. It is the weekend of your birthday, so you're not going to be joining us, which I think is, can I say next year? Because I know this is a milestone birthday for you and you already have your plans. However, next year, I think you and I, Toy Fair, running rampant on it. I think that's going to be fun. But that's one con that we're going to be going to.
I'm so jealous.
We do have some backlog episodes that I'll air sporadically throughout as they make sense, but we do have ones with the UncannyX-Men.net team that I think, is applicable to this era because that's when Uncanny X-Men was really taking off. So we'll drop that interview as well, and we'll reach out to talent. We did put a pause on reaching out to talent because of the fires in LA. It felt very wrong to be messaging agents and being like, hey, might Quitely or Morrison be available, etc. But we saw the DMs on that, and we will be reaching out to more talent. But we really do want this season of the podcast to be extremely focused on new X-Men. We are defending this run. We think it is critical. It is amazing, and it is required reading for X fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to talk to Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, so we will do everything in our power to try and make that happen. But like you said, I think this is going to this era of Power of X-Men is going to be just really laser focused on these issues that mean so much to you. They mean so much to me. They're very foundational for our friendship.
In the era, sorry.
No, I mean if you can't tell by the fact that we've devoted probably over 6 hours already to talking about this. It's just
3 issues. Just 3 issues.
It's wild. It just is something that means so much to both of us. And I think,
yeah, and
with how misunderstood this series can be, I'm having such a good time telling everybody why they're.
I agree. I agree. And listen, again, it's such a rarity that we can dedicate 6 hours of dialogue to just 3 issues. I mean, Leah Williams' X Factor, we couldn't even do 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the Phoenix series right now, we haven't even devoted 20 seconds to that, and that's Jean being a literal god queen, just like you've always wanted her to be.
Amelia, I am the Uncanny Dayspring.
And I am the new Flinkman.
And we will be back next week with Poptopia. I'm so excited for it. And we'll bring back trivia. And I believe you're asking the trivia.
I'm gonna I'm gonna see if I can't get some more Jocasta Frost trivia together for you.